Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's call with Congressman Mike Levin. My name is Robin, and I'll be moderating the call this evening. During tonight's call, we'll be taking questions from constituents like you. To ask the Congressman a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad now. You may also sign up for the Congressman's newsletter by pressing *6 at any time during this call. Again, if you'd like to ask the Congressman a question, please press *3 now or press *6 to subscribe to the Congressman's newsletter. With that, I'd like to turn the call over to Congressman Mike Levin. Congressman, you are live and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Congressman Mike Levin, your representative for California's 49th Congressional District, covering North County, San Diego, and South Orange County. You know, when I was first elected in 2018, I made a commitment to you to hold monthly town halls throughout my time in Congress, and I've kept that promise. I've held more than 100 town halls so I can hear directly from constituents. Thank you for calling in and joining me tonight. I host in-person, telephone, and virtual town halls for all constituents who wish to attend and ask questions. The different formats work well for different people. I'm currently in my third two-year term as your member of Congress, and it's a privilege to serve you. In Washington, D.C., I'm working hard to lower health care costs, keep our communities safe, protect Social Security and Medicare, tackle the climate crisis, ensure veterans get the benefits they deserve, protect reproductive rights, and safeguard our democracy. I'm honored to fight for our district in Congress and deliver results that improve our quality of life. To ask a question, press *3 at any time. To subscribe to my newsletter, press *6. For tonight's town hall, we have a special guest to discuss the PACT Act, a bipartisan law passed by Congress in 2022 to expand health care benefits to veterans impacted by toxic substances and burn pits during their service. I'm glad that we're joined by retired Colonel Steve Miska, the Transitional Executive Director for the PACT Act in the Department of Veterans Affairs. Director Miska will discuss how to apply for PACT Act benefits and the law's impact on our veterans who are benefiting from it. Since the law's enactment, over 1 million veterans and survivors have been granted benefits. In our district alone, nearly 4,000 veterans have filed a claim. And you know, if even one veteran is able to get care as a result of this telephone town hall tonight, it'll all have been worth it. You know, I've always said, no veteran should go hungry, homeless, jobless, or without health care. And thanks to the landmark PACT Act, we're one step closer to giving our heroes the health care and benefits they deserve. If any veteran would like more information about filing a claim after the town hall, please visit va.gov or reach out to my office through our website, levin.house.gov. Before I turn it over to Director Miska, I want to address some of the pressing issues facing our nation and recent victories for our district. You know, a lot has occurred in the past several weeks that will have lasting implications for our country. First, I want to acknowledge President Biden's decision to step aside from the presidential election and pass the torch to a new generation of leaders. He made a patriotic decision to put the country first and above his own interests. I applaud President Biden's decades of service to our country, and his presidency will go down as one of the most effective and transformative in modern American history. I also want to address the assassination attempt on former President Trump. That horrific event underscores what many of us have been saying for some time. We need to tone down the rhetoric, diminish political divisions, and determine a path forward with civility and respect. Our country was founded on the premise that we're a haven for different opinions, religions, and backgrounds. We thrive despite our differences, and when we disagree, we do it respectfully. Unfortunately, if we don't change course now, we're going to lose what truly makes us the greatest nation in the world. We must choose community over chaos. Let's continue to have difficult discussions about who we want to be and how we want to overcome our challenges. And let's all agree that political violence has no place in our great nation. How we move forward will shine a light on how we want to be viewed as Americans. I hope that we'll proceed with dignity, respect, and civility. In D.C., Congress is focused on another round of government funding negotiations, and we must pass bills by the end of September to fund our government for fiscal year 2025. I'm concerned that House Republicans continue to impose extremist policy riders into government funding bills that should not be used for divisive issues or for fighting the culture wars. Instead of negotiating in good faith to fund our government, there are some congressional Republicans who are using the funding bills to restrict reproductive rights, limit voting rights, and more. If extremists dominate negotiations and we don't pass government funding bills by the end of September, we're going to face the threat of a government shutdown that could impact services and benefits for millions of Americans. Congress should not be facing constant threats of a shutdown because some extremist members want to add divisive provisions into government funding bills. Ultimately, I think it is most likely that Congress will kick the can down the road and pass what they call a continuing resolution to keep existing government funding levels in place through the end of the calendar year. I'm committed to working across the aisle to come to an agreement on government funding, but I will not compromise on cutting benefits or programs that help Americans feed their families or make ends meet. Of course, I'll keep everyone updated on these negotiations as they progress. As a reminder, press star 3 at any time to ask a question. Press star 6 to subscribe to my newsletter. Here at home, I'm proud to report on some recent accomplishments for our district that will improve the quality of life for all residents. A top priority of mine is delivering federal funds to address local issues and invest in projects that uplift all communities in our district. Since coming to Congress in 2019, I've secured over $930 million in federal funds for projects up and down our district. In the recent government funding package enacted this past March, I secured over $17 million for 15 local projects to make road improvements, upgrade water infrastructure, strengthen public safety, and much more. Additionally, I recently announced that we secured over $32 million for 3 critical water desalination projects that will improve our water infrastructure and benefit our region by providing reliable local sources of potable water. The removal of nuclear waste from our district also remains a top priority of mine. I was able to secure $55 million for the Department of Energy to take the next steps for the safe removal and management of the nation's spent nuclear fuel. This funding brings us one step closer to getting the nuclear fuel out of San Onofre and to a safe home, and I'll continue fighting for the resources we need until the job is finished. To learn more about these projects and see which ones are in your area, please visit levin.house.gov, and you'll find an interactive map. You know, I've heard from many of you of your concerns about immigration reform and border security. 2 weeks ago was my most recent visit to the border, and I saw the Otay Mesa soft-sided migrant processing facility, and I examined firsthand how the President's recent executive action on the asylum process is affecting the situation. I was pleased to see that the action is making a positive difference on the ground. Recent data made it clear that crossings are down, apprehensions have been cut in half from 1,200 a week before, or 1,200 a day, I should say, before the action to about 600 now, and street releases have dropped to 0. In fact, 3 weeks in a row of 0 street releases, only 50 the week before that. So in the last month, 50 total street releases. We were averaging over 2,000 a week just a few months back. What I saw at the facility, what I heard from Border Patrol, it's really encouraging. Migrant encounters overall dropped by 21% in June compared to the previous month. And look, success, I think, has been driven by the increased consequences for crossing illegally, the improved cooperation with the Mexican government, and also the support from local non-government organizations. And I was very glad to see that the action from the President is having a positive impact. However, we must have bipartisan congressional legislation on immigration reform and border security. We need to make these fixes permanent, and we need to do more. I am determined to work with my colleagues from either side of the aisle to get this done. It should not be partisan. I would say it is nonpartisan. This is a nonpartisan matter of national security. Finally, last week, I attended the address from the Israeli Prime Minister. I attended because I thought it was important to hear directly from Israel's leader about the ongoing war and out of support for the people of Israel and the critical relationship between the State of Israel and the United States. However, I do have concerns about how Prime Minister Netanyahu attempted to use the visit and the speech for political gain. Obviously, he is deeply unpopular at home, and last December, I called for new Israeli leadership, and I stand by that position. We need new leaders for both Israelis and Palestinians who are committed to peace and stability through a two-state solution. Now, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Steve for his remarks on the PACT Act, and I want to thank him and everyone there for all their hard work on behalf of our veterans. Steve?
Thank you, Congressman. It's an honor to join you tonight. By way of introduction, I am a veteran, as the Congressman noted. I'm a son of a Vietnam veteran. I'm the brother of a veteran. My kids grew up on a military base while I was in combat in Iraq for 40 months. And my wife teaches military kids on Camp Pendleton. So I am also a constituent of the district, and grateful for that, and honored to really be deployed to D.C. now for over the last year and a half, working on making sure we reach as many veterans as possible and get the word out about PACT. So I'm excited to join you tonight. For those who don't know, the PACT Act is the largest expansion of VA healthcare and benefits in over a generation. It impacts Vietnam veterans, Gulf War veterans, post 9/11 veterans, and it is expansive and massive. And so we have been busy really since August of 2022 when the president signed the law, just trying to get the word out to as many veterans to understand may be eligible. And so there are hundreds of events going on across the country now where we do toxic exposure screening, we help with claims, but you don't need to show up for one of those events. If you can't, you can just go to our website, you can call us, and I'll give you all that information at the end, and we'll make sure that you can access it in multiple ways. But it is it's really important for vets to get screened for toxic exposure. There are so many things we've been exposed to, everything from burn pits to other types of airborne particulate matter that you breathe in and you have no idea how it can impact you. And so VA, in addition to trying to reach out to veterans and bring them into healthcare and encourage them to file claims, we are also doing the research. Part of the law allowed us to create what we call the presumptive process. And what that is looking into new areas of exposure that could be related to health conditions that veterans experience in the military environment. And so we continue to do that work. It's a dynamic process. We update each year what the different exposures are that we're looking at, the possible health conditions related to them. And then we have epidemiologists and other researchers who do that research to try to determine how we can bring more healthcare and better culturally competent healthcare to our veteran community. So what is toxic exposure screening? Basically, it's a screening that we have done for over 5.6 million veterans already in the country. And it's a quick initial 5 to 10 minute series of questions to determine if you believe you were exposed to things like burn pits or Agent Orange for Vietnam veterans or other types of exposures. You know, we've got folks in firefighting areas on ships or airfields and in other places. There's a lot of different exposures that could potentially lead to harmful health conditions down the road. And we at VA, if you're in our healthcare system, we're required by law to screen you every 5 years. And our clinicians are more likely to spot the early indicators, the markers of potentially bad things, different types of cancers manifesting years down the road. And so I would just encourage all the veterans to come in, get checked out, and even if you don't use VA for all of your healthcare needs, come in for those annual screenings, and we can make sure we're looking for some of those things that you might encounter in later years. And then on the claims side, on the benefit side, a lot of veterans who were exposed can file a claim, especially if they're experiencing conditions that are impacting their quality of life. So they should come in And if you're anxious about working through the paperwork or the bureaucracy and you don't want to go online, I know a lot of people do go online. It's a very streamlined process, but you can walk into one of our regional offices. We've got them in San Diego, Los Angeles. You can reach out to a veteran service organization. There are plenty of accredited veteran service organizations like Veterans for Foreign Wars, American Legion, a lot of others who have officers who can help you file those claims. They'll advocate on behalf of you. A lot of people don't realize as well, when the congressman talked about the million claims granted already since January of 2023, it also includes survivors. If a veteran passed away as a result of a toxic exposure, which is now presumptive in the PACT Act, then the survivors are potentially eligible for benefits. And so it's worth letting them know. A lot of times people might not even identify as survivors, so we do a lot of outreach and try to get the word out through Blue Star Families, through other TAPs and other organizations that are working in that space, to let survivors know, please come in and let us take a look at your case and determine whether or not you might be eligible. The one thing I do want to point out, because I've been using this term presumptive, and I'll explain what that means. Normally, when a veteran files a claim, they need to, one, have served in the military, and they need to have a health condition that they believe is related to their military service, and they actually need to prove the nexus, we call it, that it was their military service that caused that health condition. Well, when a condition is considered presumptive, and the PACT Act had 23 different buckets of presumptive conditions that really come out to over 300 different types of cancers and other conditions. If it's presumptive, the law gives us the ability to automatically assume, if you're a veteran, you served, and you have that condition, assume it is as a result of your service. And it's really been a game changer in terms of being able to approve benefits, because the approval rate for PACT Act benefits is at 75%, which is much higher than historical approval rates for claims. So I would just encourage all veterans on the line. Maybe there are family members on the line, and your veteran isn't listening. I would encourage you to reach out to that veteran and encourage them to serve. I know, as a veteran myself, I know we're complicated cases. Sometimes it takes a little nudging from those who we love around us to get us to take care of ourselves. And so I would really encourage you, go online to va.gov/PACT, P-A-C-T. That's va.gov/PACT, P-A-C-T. Call us toll free at 811-MY-VA, 800-MY-VA 411. That's 800-MY-VA 411. Or come in person. You can come into a hospital and enroll in the healthcare. You can go to a regional office for your benefits. You can go to a veteran service organization in your local area that will help you apply for benefits. But I just encourage everybody to reach out, come on in, and if you've got questions, I'm happy to stay on the line and answer them along with Congressman Levin.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for your insight. I really appreciate it and all the great work that you're doing. Now I'm going to turn it over to the callers for your questions, and we'll go to our moderator.
Okay, thank you, Congressman. We are ready. Our first call comes from Christy, and she's calling from Encinitas. Christy, you're live on the call. Please ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Congressman, for this opportunity to share and ask questions and get insightful information like from Steve. My dad, Steve, is a Vietnam veteran and suffers from a lot of health conditions and goes to the VA hospital up in the Sacramento area at McClellan. And without that resource, I don't know where he would be. But one issue I wanted to address, I have done a lot of work locally at the county level and now at the state level, advocating for services for serious mental illnesses. A lot of my family members have lived with an undiagnosed serious mental illness, and it presents in different ways at different times and different stages in life. And I really want to locally get some support and help from your office on what we can do in this district to help provide access to housing, provide access to services that are in alignment with what the counties are doing and the state is doing through Prop 1. It's just Prop 1. It's just not going to take care of everything, and there's a lot of obstacles that we're running into, even with the CARE Act, to get our loved ones treatment, especially in an involuntary setting. So I'm really looking to collaborate with your office to find some solutions on what we can do in our district to partner with the counties and partner with the state and the local NAMI agents, affiliates, that we can actually provide more housing and more services that access, especially to veterans and those that maybe aren't diagnosed yet with a serious mental illness here in our district. So again, please reach out to me. I'm an advocate. I actually work in healthcare services, and I really want to collaborate in how we can provide more access to our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christy. Well, first and foremost, absolutely, our office will reach out. I'll make sure of it. We have your number, and we'd love to collaborate. I can tell you just a few things that immediately come to mind about the situation we have. On one hand, it is an affordable housing supply shortage. The analysis you read suggests around 4 million units short of what we need in the country, and that's obviously a big problem. And I have fought in my 5.5 years for investments to try to increase the supply of affordable housing, whether it's grants to states or cities, tax credits to build housing, rehabilitate housing, convert office space, and then specifically with regard to the veteran homeless population. It's incredibly frustrating. I said it at the outset, no veteran after serving our country should be left out on the streets, period, end of story. And I've been very honored to serve as ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Subcommittee that has jurisdiction over housing and homelessness. And I've championed a number of different efforts to address these challenges, particularly things that occur when veterans transition from military to civilian life, trying to help them search for a job, find a house. And for about 1.5 years now, I've been working to address the fact that homeless vets with high service-connected disability ratings are being deemed ineligible for the permanent supportive housing that in many cases was designed to house them. It's incredibly frustrating. I had a good call with the acting HUD secretary on this last week, and I'm hoping for some good news in that regard very soon. The other thing is that about 1/4 of our HUD badge vouchers aren't being used. A lot of it is because of limited housing supply, and we're working to address that too. A couple other things on homelessness generally that we're advocating for. One is a bill called the End Hedge Fund Control of American Homes Act that would impose, make it harder for these institutional investors to just acquire and own all the single-family homes. And then a lot of older homeowners who want to sell their homes to the next generation feel stuck because of capital gains taxes. So we're doing what's called the More Homes on the Market Act to increase the tax exclusion for the sale of a principal residence. Another on the veteran homelessness is trying to do it locally, so going city to city and trying to meet cities where they are and trying to help through community project funds. One example in Oceanside is the Navigation Center, and we were able to secure a couple $1 million in federal funds. That's a 50-bed facility designed to expand to 100 beds. So I am advocating and fighting every day for functional zero veteran homelessness throughout San Diego County and Orange County, just as it has been achieved in certain other areas of the country. And someone from our office will reach back out to you, Christy, and I really appreciate your question, your comment, and the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Congressman. I want to remind our callers, if you would like to ask a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad now. And if you would like to subscribe to the Congressman's newsletter, you can press *6 at any time during the call. Our next question comes from Mark. Mark is calling from San Juan Capistrano. Mark, you are live on the call with the Congressman. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, Congressman. I am happy to be on your call today. And I was calling about what you feel can be done about Social Security to keep it solvent in the future. It seems like a no-brainer to me to raise the amount, the cap that is taken on that. You know, it was designed many, many years ago. Why is there a $170,000 earnings cap on that? It doesn't seem to me like that should be any problem for the Congress to do.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. You know, like you, I'm extremely concerned about it. I will tell you what we've proposed, and then I'll tell you what some others have proposed. The bill that I have been on now for 5.5 years is called Social Security 2100, and it would do a couple things. It would institute a payroll tax on those making over $400,000. So there would be, still a gap between the roughly 170,000, as you said, to the 400,000. That would not be taxed, but anything over 400,000 would be taxed. And then the other piece of it is if you actually did that, you could extend the solvency while increasing benefits, which is pretty incredible. But of course, it will require those at the higher income level to pay their fair share. And I've always thought it was just wrong that people making many, many millions of dollars don't pay a penny more in payroll tax than those making far, far less. My principle is pretty simple: no cuts to Social Security, period. And at the same time, you've got other people who are threatening to cut. And I'll give you one example, something called the Republican Study Committee. That is a group that represents about 80% of House Republicans. Their proposal would raise the retirement age from 67 to 69. It would cut disability benefits, and it would cut Social Security benefits for the 250 plus million people across the country who could potentially be eligible for those benefits. And in our district alone, we've got about 77% of our population who would have benefits cut if the retirement age was raised. That's 590,000 people in our district alone. And, the reason why I hear some want to cut Social Security benefits, they claim solvency is the issue, but at the end of the day, it's really about giving more tax cuts to the extremely wealthy, and it's just not right. And I'm going to fight it every chance I get. So I think the contrast on this, unfortunately, couldn't be any greater. I'll say a couple more things. There's also legislation out there for a commission. I think that is a well-intentioned bill, but I do think that the commission could be used as a vehicle to cut Social Security. And again, we've got to address our very complicated budget challenges, but we must not renege on the promise that we made to seniors by cutting benefits. I simply won't allow it to happen, and neither will my colleagues.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next call comes from Karen. Karen's calling from Oceanside. Karen, you are live on the call with the Congressman. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Congressman, I worked on your campaign.
Well, thank you.
When you ran the last time. And I believe you have such a great heart for the middle class. And my concern, my concerns from listening to some of your other constituents, and I'm sure I will have more as they chime in, is Veterans Affairs. Veterans are not being treated fairly. I see too many veterans out there with a dog to help protect their belongings if they have to leave them even for a minute. These veterans put their lives on the event. The war, the death killing that they were involved in. They should not be denied consideration. And that includes my husband. He's now 94 years old. Or going to be on August the 1st. Happy birthday, Ron.
Happy birthday, amazing.
Okay. But he only served 4 years. Does that mean
Oh, Karen, are you still there?
pension benefits should be not stricken, but so lowered that it almost means nothing for him to have given his life, possibly on the Inchon, on the battle, the huge invasion of the United States in Incheon, North Korea, when they were on ships trying to pull the survivors from the land on boats and onto the ships to get them out of harm's way. And he's not even entitled to any benefit whatsoever. And that was may seem like a blip between.
No, not at all, Karen. Not at all. Karen, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is as soon as we're done here, I'm going to have someone from my office call you. We have your number, and I want to make sure that your husband, who has served his country well, receives every penny of benefits that he is entitled to. And I want to thank you for your advocacy for him. And for me, it's very simple. Every veteran that has served this country, that has put their life on the line, that has worn the uniform, we have to do everything humanly possible, not only to thank them with our words, but to thank them with our actions, and to make sure that the programs and the services that are available to them are efficient and effective. And that's been my mission now for 5+ years. What I can tell you, the good news is that we've made a lot of progress. The VA is not perfect. There is no such thing as any perfect government agency or any perfect entity that's as large as VA. But I will tell you, my experience is that the folks at VA are doing a great job trying to help every single veteran that they can. And that's specifically true here with our Red, White, and Blue Clinic in Oceanside and with our La Jolla VA Hospital. Is it perfect? No. But to the people, the men and women who work there, are they trying to go above and beyond to help our veterans? That's been my experience based on what I've seen and heard these last 5.5 years. So what we will do is we will circle back with you later today as soon as we're done here, and we'll try to help you directly. And I really
Congressman,
thank you for calling in. Go ahead.
Congressman, yeah, I would just offer, as soon as you are able to get that contact information, my team is happy to connect them to the right office inside of VA to reach out. And Karen, I want to echo the Congressman's thanks for your advocacy on behalf of your husband. And I also want you to be able to pass on to him our thanks for his service, because a third of the VA team are veterans themselves, like myself, and many of the others are family members of veterans like you, and they are passionate about the mission the way the Congressman was talking about, and so we will reach out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Before we take the next caller, I just want to remind our listeners, if you would like to ask a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. And if you'd like to subscribe to the Congressman's newsletter, you can press *6. We're going to go ahead and take our next question. Our next question is from Jaime of Oceanside. Jaime, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. You are live on the call with the Congressman. Please ask your question.
Oh, goodness. Thank you very much, Congressman Levin. I really appreciate the opportunity to ask a question and voice my concern. And I also want to thank you for all the work that you've done for veterans. I did 20 years in the Marine Corps, and I'm a proud homeowner here in California, and it's because of, people like you and everybody else that supports our community. My question is... Thank you, sir. My question is, I'm concerned about the way that the insurance companies have been acting recently. Insurance companies, that's to me, an insurance company is money that's put away by a community for emergencies, right? And you build a coffer of treasure that is supposed to be used when emergencies happen and occur. And we allow, we're a capitalistic society, we allow these companies to take a little bit off the top as profit. But recently, Californians especially have been getting treated a little roughly, and it's increasing the cost for all of us collectively. You have huge companies like State Farms pulling out of entire areas, and inciting the fires and higher costs, and they're taking the treasure with them. My question to you, Congressman, is what are we going to do to prevent these companies from just completely leaving a hole that we're going to have to fill as a community, sir? Because I really feel that what they're doing is wrong.
It is wrong. It's reprehensible, and I am furious about it. And just very candidly, I'm not very pleased with our state insurance commissioner. And I think our colleagues in the House, we've voiced that displeasure. We need to do better. The state needs to do better. To the extent that we have jurisdiction federally, we're going to do everything that we possibly can. Got a few ideas on that, which I'll share. I can tell you that across the board, including my own home, the insurance has gone up. We've owned our home in San Juan Capistrano since 2014, a little over a decade, and the homeowner's insurance in that time has gone up 250%. I've seen others where they can't get insurance at all, and they're stuck with these lousy policies that really are just not going to do the job. And then, of course, as you just said, you see these big companies pulling out. It's ridiculous. So what are we going to do about it? Well, there's a few things. One is we have a bill called the Insure Act. It's Adam Schiff and a number of us, and it would create something called the Federal Catastrophe Reinsurance Program. And what that would do is provide a federal backstop to incentivize the insurers to cover all types of property damage in their plans and reduce some of the risk associated with providing the insurance and bring down the costs for homeowners. We have done, fairly similar things with the California Earthquake Authority, and we have to do whatever we can. And I think the Insure Act is an important backstop. I can tell you industry is not super excited about that bill right now, and we have to work with them. They have to be part of the solution. But I think you said it extremely well, that they have to be willing to work with us too. There's another called the Disaster Resiliency and Coverage Act. And that takes a different approach. That would provide grants to homeowners directly to strengthen their homes against natural disasters. It would also require the insurance companies to consider any actions that homeowners have taken to mitigate risk when calculating premiums. That's also, I think, a worthwhile bill. Those two aren't necessarily contradictory. You could do both of those, and I think both would help. And then the other is just trying to figure out what is causing these rate increases. And my background as an environmental attorney, somebody very interested in mitigating the worst impacts of climate change. I recently led a letter to the Federal Insurance Office and the National Association of Insurance Commissioners urging them to ensure the data is collected so we can understand the impact of natural disasters and specifically of climate-related disasters on premiums. And I have called on the FIO, the Federal Insurance Office, to use its subpoena power to force states to participate in data collection. And I've tried to do all I can to get them to publish the data for research and for the public. And we've got 21 members of Congress that signed the letter, and we've done all we can to build momentum. So I won't keep at it, or I will keep at it for as long as it takes. And just like you, I find it ridiculous and reprehensible that we're in this spot, and we've got to get to the bottom of it and come up with the right formula of state and federal policy that'll help. And I'm committed to doing that for sure. And I thank you for the question. I thank you for your service.
Thank you, Congressman. It's great to see so many people on the call this evening asking questions. There is another feature in the call this evening. We have a polling question for our audience. The PACT Act is a law that expands VA healthcare benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances. Our question to you is, do you know a veteran who may be able to benefit from the PACT Act? Please press 1 if you do know, if your answer is yes. Press 2 if your answer is no. And I'd like to repeat the question for our callers. The PACT Act is a law that expands VA healthcare benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances. Do you know a veteran who may be able to benefit from the PACT Act? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let's go ahead and take our next caller. We have Donna from San Clemente. Donna, you are live on the call with the Congressman. Please go ahead and ask your question, Donna.
Hello, Congressman Levin. You've basically already answered my question, which was, could you give us an update on border security? When I talk with my neighbors and friends, that's the question they ask. What can we do for border security? And I talk about the bipartisan legislation that was not passed in Congress, and I know you were a supporter of that, but that's in the past. So what can we do for increased border security today? And thank you for the update that you gave already on that. And the other thing I'm hearing is problems with home insurance, and you've addressed that also. So I'm a veteran. Thank you for the continuing work that you do for veterans. All the issues that you're addressing mean a lot to myself and my family in San Clemente, and I want to thank you, and we will work hard to get you reelected to Congress.
Well, thank you, Donna. You're kind to say that, and thank you for your service, and thank you for your questions. I'll tell you, I can say a few more things. We rely in the greater San Diego region on a secure border where we're able to have commerce between our two nations, between the U.S. and Mexico, and ultimately what's happening with the asylum process and what had happened with millions of people a year, a record, at least in recent times, a record and really a very tough situation down there prior to the asylum executive action, I think ultimately spreads our Border Patrol far too thin. They are trying to do the best they can under difficult circumstances. They're trying to go after fentanyl. They're trying to go after human trafficking, and they're doing a fine job. In my most recent visit with the division chief, Chief McGurk, who I've spoken with many times, it's very clear that the executive action is working. It is, as I said, it's cut the apprehensions in half. We've had 0 street releases for 3 weeks, only 50 the week before that, after having over 2,000 a week back in really just a couple months ago. And I give great credit also to our local nonprofit partners, NGOs, and to the Mexican government with Claudia Sheinbaum, the new president, and her government. Things seem to be going pretty well so far, so good. Of course, things are cyclical. They can change, but today I can tell you that we're making encouraging progress, and Border Patrol is to thank for that. I think we need more funding for our Border Patrol. I've advocated funding for 22,000 Border Patrol and robust funding for technology. And really what CBP and the folks at DHS have asked for, I've always been in favor of giving them what they need to do their jobs effectively. We also have a problem with recruitment and retention of Border Patrol, so I'm working to address some of that, both the pay that they get as well as some of the upcoming hiring needs and retirement expectations are pretty daunting. I can tell you also where we have a unique issue in the San Diego region, and that's with countries with whom we have no repatriation agreements. So China, India, Russia, Venezuela. I was deeply troubled to read the reports over the weekend about the election with Maduro, where his opponents say that actually the opposition got 72% of the vote, but somehow Maduro says he won the election. Since Maduro has been in power the last 12 or so years, the number of people living in Venezuela has gone from around 27 million to around 20. And many of those 7 million, obviously they made their way as seeking asylum all around the world, but many have made their way into the United States, and we lack repatriation with them. China, obviously, that's a very tough situation, and I was encouraged DHS was able to negotiate one plane to go back. We need a lot more of that. India, of course, has big challenges with the Sikh community in particular, and Cuba is another issue. Obviously, Russia with Putin and the invasion of Ukraine, but Russian migrants. So those are the main challenges I see in the San Diego region. The real key here is we've got to set politics aside, quit blaming and shaming one another, and actually get to work. And we need a comprehensive bipartisan immigration deal that pairs border security with a path to citizenship, who are doing things the right way, who are paying taxes, who are working hard, contributing positively to our society, to our economy. And I look forward to working with any of my colleagues on either side of the aisle who will work with me, no matter who's president, to try to get something done. I can tell you I didn't like all the immigration policies of the Trump administration, and I haven't liked all the immigration policies of the Biden administration either. We need safety, security, and order at the border, and that's what I'll continue to fight for.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next caller is Greg from Oceanside. Greg, you're live on the call with the Congressman. Please go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Good afternoon, Congressman. I'm wondering, hi, we're trying to push for more electric vehicles and more efficiency with energy. But as my grandfather used to say, we're getting the cart in front of the horse from what it looks like. The grid cannot handle what happens during the summertime in California now. If we continue to use EVs and we have the rolling blackouts or brownouts, it kind of defeats the purpose. What are we doing as far as bringing more energy to California in particular and the nation in whole? I know there's not a lot of people that are pro-nuclear, but we put those on our Navy ships all the time. And the French have been very successful with their energy program that way for years. And we need to do something. What is the solution that you see?
Well, I appreciate that very much, Greg. I've been working in this area long before I got to Congress. Been in the clean energy space for, I don't know, quite some time, working as an attorney, working for two different businesses, and starting a clean energy nonprofit. And I've tried to make this one of the real things to focus on in Congress these last 5.5 years. And I'll just give you a few data points. In the bipartisan infrastructure law, there's $7.5 billion in there for 500,000 EV chargers across the country. And that money has been way too slow. I'm very, very disappointed at how long it has taken to get that money out the door. It's called the NEVI program. But I'm hopeful we'll finally start to see those chargers, be installed all throughout California and throughout the country. Critically important that it's as easy to get in your EV and drive it from point A to point B anywhere in the United States as it is in an internal combustion vehicle. As far as energy, my thoughts are pretty consistent over the last number of years, which is we need energy independence. I want to see clean energy independence. I don't want us to be continuing our dependence on foreign fossil fuels, particularly from countries that don't like us very much. And it's always been, for me, about reliability, cost, and greenhouse gas reduction, emissions reduction. So it's got to be more reliable, it's got to be cheaper, and it's got to be cleaner than it is today. What I can tell you is that I've been working to lead the effort on, you could call it permitting reform, you could call it transmission reform, and I have a bill that about 80 of my colleagues have co-sponsored called CETA, Clean Electricity Transmission Acceleration Act. Sean Caston, who's my friend, representative from Illinois, and I wrote this bill together, and we are working on hopefully making it a cornerstone of transmission and reliability planning. The basic premise with our bill is that we are going to need way more transmission and distribution infrastructure in order to take the take the steps for electrification and decarbonization that I've discussed, that you've discussed, as we see, not only transportation electrification, but also for stationary source electrification as well. And so what that means is it can't be easier to build a multi-state oil pipeline than it is to build a multi-state transmission line. And unfortunately, that's the case today. So our bill would dramatically speed the rate with which you can build a multi-state, multi-gigawatt transmission line. And that'll hopefully bring a lot more clean power to California. I do know that Senator Manchin and Senator Barrasso have been working on this too. They came out with a bill recently. There are certain aspects of it on the transmission side that are quite good. There are other aspects of it that are not so good. But my great hope is we can come together and we can work on this and we can get something done, because the basic premise of your question is spot on. And it's all about reliability, it's about cost, and it's about hitting our greenhouse gas reduction goals. And I'm just going to keep at it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. We got to do it. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to keep working on this important issue.
Thank you, Congressman. Your next call is from Charles. Charles is calling from Oceanside. Charles, you're live on the call with the Congressman. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Congressman Levin. Hope you're doing good tonight.
Hi there. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing really good. I chair communications for Save Oceanside Sand, and I'm also a former UFCW 135 worker, so I've seen you at our rallies, and I appreciate that support as well, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question tonight is what if anything is Congress doing to put pressure on the Army Corps of Engineers to complete the beach erosion mitigation study that they have owed Oceanside since the year 2000, based on legislation that was passed?
Well, I really appreciate the question, and if you only knew behind the scenes, we've been putting pressure on them straight through. It is absolutely unacceptable that this has not happened. It has been the responsibility of the federal government to take care of the Oceanside community. When the harbor was built, as you know, it created significant long-term damage to our beaches in Oceanside. And, when I got to Congress in 2019, the Special Shoreline Study was pretty much dead for all intents and purposes. And it had been, put in the law in, as you said, 2000, and then nothing happened from 2000 all the way until when we took office in 2019. And I have made the case as aggressively on that as I have on just about anything else, that these beaches were damaged due to construction at Camp Pendleton Boat Basin during World War II. And what we did is secure funding for that study. And we're going to do it again, and we're going to get it done. I'm not going to rest until it's done. The House has passed something called the Water Resources and Development Act. Every year we go through the WRDA process, and we got authorizing language in there for the Army Corps to assess San Diego and OC for their flood risk, for their coastal storm risk, for their ecosystem restoration. And, my thing is we've got to have the efforts of the city of Oceanside and the surrounding community match up with what the Army Corps is committed to do. We need a project. We don't just need a study. We actually need them to commit to fund a project. Just as was the case, by the way, as we got the $30 million in federal funding for Encinitas and Solana Beach for the over 1 million cubic yards of sand there, just as we got the commitment and the over $9 million for San Clemente, with hopefully a lot more to come for the sand there in San Clemente. We need a project. I won't stop until the Army Corps is committed to meeting the city and the stakeholders like you where everyone is, and that'll be in the best interest of everybody, because you can't have a beach town without a beach, and we're just going to keep at it.
Thank you, Congressman. We are out of time, but I would invite you to share your final thoughts for this evening's call.
Well, let me first just say thanks to Steve again for his work on the PACT Act. Tremendous job there. And as I said, if there's even one veteran out there who heard this call, or if you're a family member or a friend of a veteran, you heard this, and you can sign them up for PACT Act benefits, that would make the whole thing worth it. And I see from our poll that there are quite a few of you that answered yes, that you know a veteran who might be able to benefit from the PACT Act. And what I'd like for my team, hopefully my team doesn't get too mad at me for saying this, but I would like for every single one of you to get correspondence from my office asking you to provide more information so that we can connect with that veteran if they're in our district. If they're not in our district, we can try to help them still. But we would like to find as many of those folks as possible, connect them with the right benefits. And I know Steve is up for that as well. Right, Steve?
Happy to support, Congressman. We reach out every single day, and every vet is important, as are their family members and all the other loved ones in their lives.
Well, my special thanks to you for joining us tonight, Steve, and for your service and your work again. If you weren't able to have your question answered this evening, I would encourage you, please message me. Visit our website, levin.house.gov. And my office is also here to help with any issues you or your family might be having with the federal agency. That doesn't just mean the Department of Veterans Affairs. That could be Social Security. It could be the IRS, any federal agency. We'd love to help. And in order to reach us, you can call my office anytime. The number is 760-599-5000. That number again, 760-599-5000. So, thanks to everybody for joining us, and let's go USA in the Olympics. On top of it, I'm so proud of all our local athletes from all over the 49th that are competing. They are doing great, and until next time, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for joining tonight's telephone town hall with Congressman Mike Levin. If you haven't spoken to a member of our team yet about subscribing to the Congressman's e-newsletter, please stay on the line. And at the sound of the tone, please spell out your name and email address slowly. And I want to say thank you and have a lovely evening. Be blessed. Good night.